if you think there's a risk involved, there are few options that are available in terms of how you mitigate that. One is, of course, you prepare documentation, additional documentation to cover that area of risk. Second is a go-forward position negotiation with the ATO, which we call as advanced arrangements with the ATO. India has recently introduced advanced pricing agreements, just I think it was earlier in the year or last year, not too sure. But there are kind of provisions in the tax treaties where companies operating in India and Australia, they can negotiate bilateral agreements between two countries. That's one option involved. And with the perspective, just last comment there, that consultation process is on now from yesterday onwards. So if you have any comments to make, or if you need any information on that new legislation, please feel free to let me know. I'm happy to share information.
Thank you very much, Ashish. Just to emphasize that Ashish is actually a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and as members of the ICAI, I think it's a great matter of pride that someone from our institute has come to Australia and made a name for himself as a specialist in transfer pricing. So really want to thank Ashish for that. May I please request Mr. Suren Pathar from Sumo Global. He's the chairman of Sumo Global, to please come forward and, sorry, just a correction there. We still have some Q&A because a lot of people eager to ask questions. So we'll just do that and we'll get you in, Suren. So first question.
Just a quick one regarding international taxation dealing part. We just did few returns on that. The question, as you said, there were 4 parts of those questionnaire, and so heavy. Were they going to cross-check, or what is the outcome of these?
Well,
I mean, truly, it was a bit of even client was a bit of frightening when we were going through the whole lot. And
well, international dealing schedule is a tough one. For many taxpayers who lodged their form for the first time, they had to lodge a manual form, okay, a manual income tax return. Now, it's not an online, so what ATO has done is they're using that manual form to punch data. I'll come to your question. To punch data into the system, and there could be an error of converting millions into 1 million to 100 million. So those are the risks. But what is ATO going to do with that information? Well, it's unclear. Okay. They're asking a whole lot of information on business restructure. They're asking a whole lot of information on branch dealings. Okay. They're asking a whole lot of questions on stock options, which was not previously covered. What we think could happen is, once you have a few years where taxpayers lodges this form, ATO will have sufficient amount of data in the databases to then conduct perhaps a project. Let's look at companies who reported that they've done business restructure and see what are potential risks there. Let's see how many taxpayers have reported their branch dealings. Are they attributing right amounts of profits from transfer pricing perspective? You have specific disclosures made on payments made which are categorized as license fees and royalties. It could be a project to determine whether you made disclosure on royalties, or have withholding tax been appropriately paid? Are there deduction issues? So we don't know how ATO is going to deal with such a vast amount of information. It could be project oriented, but I mean, it's only a matter of time before we learn where the ATO is going with that. But up until then, I'm unsure what ATO is going to do with that information.
The tax return is no more like tax return. It's like in itself a self-audit. The whole lot going there.
I mean, for those of you who have worked in India, I mean, you see in audit reports. See, a tax office in India wants audit report to be certified by a chartered accountant, which is where they think the risk areas are. So it's giving that information and reducing the work for tax office to see where the deductions are. I mean, I've seen audit reports, and correct me if I'm wrong, where tax office does ask, what is this amount that is non-deductible in the income tax return? I mean, that's the disclosure requirement in Indian audits. I mean, what ATO is doing is not going that far. It doesn't require the chartered accountant to certify it, who is preparing a tax return. It's a public officer of science, but they're going towards and taking a process down the line where they want information.
Actually, after Safe Harbor law from 2009, we are equally responsible. Not the person who is just signing, but also tax agent is responsible as well. So, anyhow, thanks for that.
Yeah. There's one question from Parag here. Parag, I think your voice is loud enough. You can.
Ashish, I just wanted to know, is there any concession for transaction between Australia and New Zealand as far as the transfer pricing rules are concerned?
Not that I am aware of. There are some concessions available in the Australian transfer pricing rules. Now, I'm not sure when you say concession, what does that mean? But
like, if somebody is having a subsidiary in New Zealand and has given a seed capital which is without interest, and in lieu of that, they are charging, let us say, management fees. So is it sort of a risk area? Like, as per your list, it is interest-free loan outbound is a risk area, management fees is a risk area, but that is the whole strategy what company wants to promote that business. So it has given an interest-free loan, and then they are charging management fees. So can you justify giving an interest-free loan and charging management fees?
Well, I mean, this comes down to the question of commercial rationale for reasons why you're doing what you're doing. So when I say that outbound loans, interest-free loans represent risk, it does represent risk. But that doesn't necessarily mean that ATO will come and make an adjustment. They will ask you rationale for why you're doing that. And if you have a substance and a commercial rationale, which one of them could be growing your business in New Zealand, and then perhaps the other point is, all right, so what happens when the business grows? Yeah, the company will then start paying interest. We have got a broader strategy. I mean, that's the commercial rationale. And you can't then have an interest-free loan that goes beyond, say, a few years. It can't be 5, 10, 15. There has to be a time limit where you'd say, all right, would you have given this amount of loan for 10 years to an independent party? That's the fundamental principle under transfer pricing that you need to use to test the rationale of granting that loan.
Thank you.
Okay. If that is all, then now I would like to invite Suren Partha from Sumo Global. He's the chairman of Sumo Global, and he'll be giving away a token of appreciation to Ashish. Ashish, if you can come this side.
Thank you.
So, thanks, Ashish. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So, Sumo Global is into financial planning, mortgages, Indian properties, and Australian properties. They have one of the stalls out there is from Sumo Global. Just like we have stalls for our other sponsors as well. Okay, so lunchtime. Just before that, also want to welcome Mr. Dheeraj Malla from Apna Radio. He's a media representative, just somewhere out there. So thank you very much for coming in and covering this conference. Thank you. Just few announcements before we go for lunch, and I'll keep it really quick. One is about, of course, the stalls, which I mentioned, the sponsor stalls. We are also on Facebook, so you can like us. I'm sure you will. And we mentioned about the consultation paper, where you could give your feedback as well. A page has been given to you, each one of you, so if you can send your responses or your suggestions to that email ID, that will be great. Don't forget the Bank of Queensland lucky draw, $150 each, the two prizes. Last but not the least, the lunch. So there'll be people guiding us to the Corn Exchange restaurant, which I told you earlier is on the southern side of the hotel. It's a bit of a 150-meter walk. So there'll be people, staff from the hotel will just guide us through there. And then we'll be back here at 1:30. So that's 1:30. So thank you very much.